Okay, now tell us your story.
Okay, here's my story. Okay, I worked at DPI probably about 10 years ago. Anyway, and so Tom and I were in Greensboro at the Career Tech Summer Conference, and so I'm working the NCACTE exhibit table. And so one of the gentlemen that I worked with at DPI, his name was Tom Shawn. He was a consultant with me. He was a consultant for T&I. Anyway, and so I see Tom. Tom had retired. He's working at NC State, and so I see him in a distance, and of course I wave. So he comes over and he says, I said, "Hey, how are you? How are you? How are you?" He said, "I'm good." He said, "You're doing." He said, "You're doing great." He said, "You look good. You look really good." He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm just doing my thing." He said, "No, really." He said, "You look really, really good." He said, "What are you doing?" He said, "You look younger now than you did when you worked at DPI."
And how long ago was that?
It was 10 years ago. Oh. I said, "Well, I'm just doing my thing." He just, as I talked, I could tell he just kept looking like, "You've had a facelift, haven't you?" I can tell you had a facelift, haven't you? Anyway, when we kept talking, so at the end, he said, "Really?" He said, "What are you doing? What have you had done? What are you doing? What have you had done?" He said, "You look so good." He said, "What have you had done?" I said, "Well, I actually bought this calendar," and I said, "The days on the calendar look like they're going forward like they usually do, but they're going backwards." And I said, "I'm really in my 50s now." Anyway, and he just kind of walked up because he's one of these guys that he's so smart, he's not like everybody else. Mm-hmm. Anyway, and I didn't tell you this, Pam. He went 2 tables up from where I was, and he kept just turning around looking like, "I'm not believing that. I'm not believing that."
Like,
really.
What has she done?
It's
really.
microcurrent.
So you didn't tell him it was microcurrent?
No, are you kidding? No.